until, until last month, and then they abruptly stopped, and it says the station's currently offline, but if you look at it on our VNC, it's actually active, so it's not. It stopped uploading about 3 weeks ago, and so that's probably permissions or code or something that we're going to have to tweak. But it took 6 months of logs, and they're there on the personal space weather station data sheet.
Well, that you've done something that nobody has ever done. You got yourself transitioned with completely with your own efforts. I'm not aware that I helped in any way with that. Did I?
Well, I didn't do anything on purpose. I accidentally transitioned across. And it's going with my call sign and my node number, and it's listed there. And I go back and I got nice plots going all the way back to October, and then for some reason they stopped at the end of February. But the station's continuing
Oh,
to
I
run.
know what happened. That was the auto import of the repository at WWV ARC being
Okay.
copied over by billing.
Yeah. Your system is not uploading directly to the personal space with the station network. Your system continues to upload to the WWV club server. And
Okay.
I'm doing importation. Once we get everybody transitioned over to uploading directly, what I will do is I will upload the remaining data that is on the WWV club server from, I think, beginning February 27th up to whenever each person transitions over. And then I will have to bring that in, import it, and run. I have programs that do bulk imports, update the database, and then go back in and run plots. The plots now look different. If I run the plotting on my system, it looks like one of Nathaniel's plots. If I get the data from that is the plot that was run on the Raspberry Pi, it will be an FLDigi plot. And I don't think they're really directly comparable, but I don't have the software to take that CSV file and then run it through FLDigi. Maybe somebody has that, but
That plot routine is actually a Python program that's outside of FLDigi. So it's on the system, so I can point you to it. But it's a separate script that runs in Python that creates those plots from the CSV file. So you actually already have it. You just don't know it yet.
what do you
John, I'd
mean?
like to get that program too. Just
You
to
have
look
it.
at it.
It's on the Pis.
Well, let's
Yeah.
talk. You can point me to the right place later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have it because I've never had a Grape One legacy system.
Oh, that's right.
The
Okay.
Grape One legacy systems are producing those plots daily now. But I didn't think we wanted to upload them. Do you want to upload them as well, John, or anybody?
Well, here's the thing. Those plots are kind of like a quick look. They're not intended to be necessarily for consumption for scientific analysis.
Right.
If you're going to be doing serious science, the right way to do it is to download the CSV file and then do a consistent analysis across all of your data you're trying to use. And so you have a chain of custody between the data and the results. If you're going to a peer-reviewed journal, that's what you have to do. So I don't think it really matters which type of quick look we have, because you can do a quick look at it and see, is there anything interesting in this plot? And we're going to be trying to do a little bit of machine learning and see if we can do some image classification to be able to recognize if somebody's antenna is failed or something in the receiver has failed. So if they're producing plots that are just all nulls or garbage, hopefully we'll be able to detect that as part of a data quality system. So that's the usefulness of that now. But you know, to do that, you've got to have a consistent plot for every type. So anyway, I'm not sure who is using the FLDigi plots for science. I know that Christina has a software that goes through and does the seasonal analysis of how the Doppler shifts change over time, and but that's not going to be using these plots. It's going to be using
No, that's using the CSV file.
Yeah. So
Bill, I will send you the Python program that does that.
well, I guess I would like
Just
to
so you have it, you know what it is.
Yes. Oh, that's a good idea. Now, when you send me Python code, remember it's got to end in .txt. Our firewall won't allow any kind of
Got
stuff
it.
like executable code to come through the firewall.
Okay.
John, that code also contains a couple of modules that have to be sent along with it that
Correct.
you know what they are. Right?
Yeah. So noted.
Speaking of data, Bill, did you happen to get what you were looking for from October of 2023?
Trying to remember what the discussion on this.
There
That
was
was
just a few, there are a few odd dates in there and you were still looking for those and I don't have them, so.
that was me that brought that up. I thought I
Oh.
saw a gap in some of the data that got uploaded to U of A, but I'm not sure yet. So let me dig into that a little further.
Okay, Gary.
Yeah, I know, Gary, that you seem to be missing some plots right around Eclipse Day on your system. And I don't know how widespread that is, but now if you still have the historical data on your system, it's possible to upload it and then get it into the database that way. So I'll have to
Yeah,
work.
let me figure out the scope first, and then we'll figure out what, if anything, needs to be done.
Yeah,
Very good.
so that's back to Nick.
I have a question for Gary. We probably want to pursue now that once we send out these drives for swap outs, the nodes that are not participating or not active, because since we only have 30 of these units, I had heard like 8 of them aren't doing anything. We need to chase after that, need to figure out why they're down, get them up and going, or get them back and redistribute them. So,
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think, well, maybe we didn't talk last week, but I think that's sort of kind of Christina's responsibility to do a
okay.
health check. And I have no problem contacting the people. We just got to figure out who's supposed to do what. I don't want to duplicate efforts,
Okay.
but that is important. You're right.
Because I know I have 2 nodes here that were returned that need to be, I got to refurbish them. The one had the smashed case that I've reprinted. I'll put in the new OS copy and get them ready to go. And it'd be nice to get all of these online, doing something.
Yeah, Gary's correct. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So
Oh, okay.
I
Good.
wanted to ask Bill about the API to be able to access the database. Because my first task is just making sure that there's a single ground truth list of all of the different types of nodes. And I don't want to be duplicating effort or writing around things. So is there a simple way that I can see programmatically what's in the database and be able to pull files?
When you say pull files, what type of files you want?
The data that have been uploaded.
Okay, we are working on that. We are going to, there's going to be 2 flavors of that. First, a simple one that is almost done now, and then a happy compliant one.
Okay.
So, I've got a meeting with my students tomorrow, and we'll see how close that is to being ready. But basically, it's going to be a bulk downloader where you can specify something like, well, give me bookends of dates you want, and we have to figure out some details about how you specify what node you want to get data from, some things like that. But we'll produce whatever you want, and we'll iteratively get it, juggle around to it does what you need.
Okay. Because my ultimate goal just is to be able to have the Python package for this be able to run those queries and run a command to be able to download files. I'm also very intrigued by the SIGMF stuff that Derek was presenting in the GNU radio talk for being able to do annotations on different parts of the spectrogram. I think that would be very useful for our application.
Fair enough. Christina, would you like to take over typing that section? There we go.
Yeah, number one should be KD80XT and not NAOBJ.
Oh, well, it was your question. So usually,
That ball's in Christina's court right now, I guess.
right, but I usually use the parentheses for over brought up.
Oh, okay.
So you asked the question and Christina answered.
Got it.
It's not so important, but and I'll let her add plenty of details to the minutes, which will be very nice and helpful. I am personally very excited for the bulk downloader of any kind, because that will make my life considerably easier. Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Is either Bill or Michael on? Or not Bill. Rob or Michael?
I'm here.
Okay. Do you have any updates either on the antenna project or the Whisper Grapes?
I don't think I have a lot about Michael is, the person more active in that. One thing that has come up is that we've been working with Professor Michael Harche, who's installed the equipment at DP0 GBN. And he is the creator of the ENAMS antenna. It's a reference antenna used by the German Radio Club and specified by the IARU. And Michael thinks we ought to consider it. The problem I told him is that there's no commercial vendor for that antenna. But it would be, it seems like it would be a good thing, for us to use the same antenna as everyone, as these other, research projects. He has, I'm wondering, I think Nathaniel has a connection with DX Engineering, and I'm wondering if we might help investigate whether they would be interested in commercializing that antenna. The Germans have been unable to find a vendor, so all of the antennas that they've created have been have been custom built. I believe one of our members, Carl Lukerns, I don't know his full name. I believe he actually has one of these antennas and ENAM's monitoring systems in operation at his site. So it may be that we might have a possibility of getting access to one and comparing it to what we have at that site. I think that there's a plan to install a Whisper Demon Grape at Carl's site. Maybe I'm confused, but about who it is, but I thought it was the same person this August. So anyway, uh, um, Uli ON5KQ has done some investigations of trying to prototype a version of the ENAMS antenna. But we it seems like it would be better to do it ourselves and in a more controlled environment where we can compare it against our candidates.
Rob, did you
Right.
not think that that was lower sensitivity than we'd like?
That was Uli's impression is he put one out in a field 300 meters from his house and said, yes, it works well. It's quiet and you can make it quiet even though it's unbalanced. But he thought it was considerably less sensitive than the antennas like the single antenna system that he has been using for normal reception.
Yeah,
So,
we may want to evaluate it and maybe just do a cross correlation for sensitivity with what we would use,
yeah, it's
so
not-
that we could reference it by design, but have an antenna of more sensitivity.
yes. I think it appears. I mean, Uli's report suggests that it would not be a good choice for us, but it certainly would be good if we could reference it and the use so that we can get a reasonable antenna factor number for the antenna we do choose. Um, so you can calculate the antenna factor, but it's always good to be able to measure and see if your calculations are match measurements. So I see Michael has joined us. I wonder if he's has anything to add to that.
One of our number in the Whisper Demon user group in France, the heck is his name? Erwin,
Yes.
has one of these antennas deployed as an ITU measuring station, I think.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think he's using it for Whisper Demon, but he's using it as one of the reference stations in France. So we might be able to get some information out of him about how it works. There are some vendors, not in the United States. I've seen a vendor selling the unit for about 13 or 1400 euros. I think it may have been in Britain, but I'm not sure. There is a station in the Northeast somewhere closer to Dave McGaw. Can't remember, Vermont maybe, that built one, I think, and has it running. So there aren't very many here stateside, unfortunately. So we could consider a production line to build some for testing purposes, whether we were going to use it directly or use it as a reference. Here at my site, we had big wind. Nothing as bad as what Bill suffered, but I did lose 3-element Yagi, and just last night we've had bigger winds again, and one of the antennas I was studying, that LZ1AQ, blew over. So I need more bricks on the ground to stabilize the mount. But testing continues apace on all of these. So there's nothing much new, however, from what I already reported at the conference. Back to
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? So
Just quickly, Michael, how did you mount the loop antenna?
I had it on strapped to a pole. The loop antenna was a loop dipole, so each element of the dipole was itself a loop, and the elements of the loop are these narrow gauge refrigerator cooling tubes, copper tubes, guided through PVC. So it presented, unfortunately, just large enough an obstruction to the wind to capture enough of it and knock it over.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I have mine of similar design, actually guide.
Guide, yeah, that would have been smarter. I didn't do it properly. Lesson
Yeah, it
learned.
doesn't take much to take some cord and guide the thing to some stakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, it's still actually receiving. It's just laying on the ground. So
Well, maybe that's a
not doing.
feature.
Yeah, there you go.
Horizontal polarization.
Right.
Yeah,
Horizontal
isn't
loop on the
the
double
one
loop
in
on the ground.
the German antenna in Antarctica is laying on the ice? A little bit different.
okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Gary?
Sure. Couple
Wow.
of new business items. One of the kind of sort of pleas I ended my talk with at the workshop last week was for some assistance in writing technical documentation. I mean, we've got a lot of bits and pieces of some pretty good stuff that whether it's John or Phil or others have written, but I don't really think we have kind of a, I don't know, I like to use the word comprehensive, but sort of a user manual for any of our equipment really. And when I'm out there trying to beat the bushes and trying to get people to sign up to host this equipment, I hate using the used car salesman line of just trust me, it'll be fine. And I think most of us are, you know, when we go out and invest in a piece of equipment, whether it's something we buy or whatever, a lot of us will go onto the websites and poke around and look for the user manual and see how the thing works, at least at a cursory level, before we purchase something. And I think I'd like to see the same be true for our hosts. But anyhow, I did have one gentleman volunteer to do some of that sort of work. I think the magnetometer is going to be the next or first piece of the PSWS puzzle to get built and assembled. And my hope is that we can get this guy going on doing some magnetometer documentation. I know that's not necessarily this group's concern specifically, I suppose, but just a thought to keep in everyone's mind that it would be cool to have a real professional technical writer put together some documentation. I don't know if there's any comments on that or if I'm off base, but I'd like to hear what others think.
One thought on that, you know, we did the hardware X paper for the grape, I guess at this point it's the legacy grape 1. And I know that there's the hardware X paper that was distributed at Hamside that came out for the magnetometer. Maybe that would be a direction to go, to basically take the technical documentation you're describing and put it in the format of hardware X papers and seek publication for those, because it's a good template. It pretty much covers everything. And that worked pretty well as a very easy thing to refer people to. And it has the benefit of, because it goes through peer review, somebody who's completely outside Hamside would look at it and verify that the documentation is comprehensible and tells you what you need to know. So I think there's a lot of upsides to releasing documentation in that format. It certainly doesn't need to be mutually exclusive with putting together any other documents. I guess the only downside is we have a lot of systems at this point, but I think it would be worth considering.
That's a good point. I didn't get a chance to pick up one of the hardware X papers on the ground mag, so I need to do that. The question is how much of our documentation needs to be living documentation? It's kind of hard to go back and update that stuff, isn't it? From a hardware X point of view.
Yeah, you're right. That is one of the things that makes it a little bit tricky. So the Hardware X paper has a table at the top that points to like a DOI upload. So if we needed to update any of the hardware information itself, then that'll get updated. I think there were a couple of things with Grape 1 that basically we just had to tell people as caveats. But yeah, it's true that we couldn't always update those things. So the way to do it is to have some document or something that we can easily update that's like a working document on Zenodo that it refers to or something like that. We could also talk to the editor of that journal about like whether there's a way for us to add errata. But yeah, that's one of the downsides to doing that as the single source. Yep.
I would mention that the GitHub, it has a very commonly used documentation adjunct called Read the Docs, which once you get over the hump in using how to get it set up is quite easy to edit and maintain, and it presents a publicly facing website as a matter of course. So with a select group of people to be editing it, you can get facts, FAQs going, you can be fixing things. So the Hardware X document could still stand both available at that site and as a basic reference. But then the living document part of it could be managed in Read the Docs. It's a very, very standard form of documentation for software packages. You'll see it all over the web, including the documentation for Read the Docs. So that might be a useful tool to employ as well. And it has all the advantages of GitHub in terms of being able to manage versions and create a group of people capable of contributing.
Christina, there's something funny on the link that you gave. The margins are really narrow and only displaying like 3 characters. At least on my browser.
I think that must be confined to your browser because I don't get that here. It might be
I'm
something
on
Harold decided to
Firefox.
set the Zoom settings. I second the Read the Docs idea. We'll make a note in the minutes to that effect.
Okay, well, I'll take those ideas to the Monday night call because Dave Witten's there and maybe some others that are more involved with the ground mag. So I appreciate everyone's input. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any problem with the Hardware X on Firefox. It seems to be coming through fine, so there must be something goofy with your system, David.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I'm Firefox on a Mac, and it's the only time I've seen it do this. But it's all in one narrow column.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Thanks for staying on top of this kind of thing, Gary.
Yeah, well, I lived it at work for a lot of years, so I'm kind of sensitive to it.
Right. I think everyone who gets used to the project at a certain point stops thinking about how it is for people trying to start. So
Yeah.
you have a suggestion. I will say I think John has printed research labels.
Yes.
Yeah, he did, and that was most appreciated. That got us going. Just like anything, if we come up with a standard label, we can all use it for the ground mags, the RX-88, the this, the that, the antennas, whatever. So, and that's why I suggested something that's durable and weatherproof and this sort of thing. So just, again, something to think about. We just order them, buy them, and have a box of them at whoever's building and deploying whatever.
Okay. And you had one more piece of new business on the Northeast Ham Expo.
Right, Nathaniel asked me to mention that the Northeast Ham Expo, we're going to get quite a bit more involved with them this year in August. Nathaniel's not the keynote speaker. I think he's the invited banquet speaker or some such thing. And they offered us a chance to have a table there and stuff. So we're just kind of sort of looking for somebody to kind of head up that effort to herd the cats and keep in contact with the Hamfest organizers and then be present at the table at least part of that weekend in August. So that's that.
I thought I had raised my hand.
Okay, well, good. Well, maybe Nathaniel forgot that, but we'll put you down, Bob.
Well, I told Nathaniel I would. So I don't know what will.
Okay, well, you can imagine how many people are tugging on his sleeve at the workshop. So he might have
yeah.
slipped his
Oh,
mind.
yeah.
So, well, we appreciate that. Put you down. That's it. Back to net.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns, or discussion? We oh, there's just a bit of reformatting happening there. Okay. I think that's everything. 73, everyone.
Threes.
Good week.
7-3.